some rules.
Just a little.
Nothing to stop her, nothing to lose. She's got no speed limits and dangerous curves on the road that never ends. She's put away her Barbie doll, now she's out looking for Ken. She's gonna break a few hearts tonight, make a little bit of noise. 'Cause girls will be girls and boys will be toys. Destiny, you and me, can't you see we're meant to be? Even the ancients knew there'd come a time when I'd find you. There's no doubt this is right. You're the one for all my life. Even the ancients knew when God made me, he'd have to make you too.
All right, that was the Black River Girls and two of their songs and part of the album Happy Landing. And I think that you'll see in a moment how Happy Landing has a very significant place to play in this whole interview, because basically what you have is two gals who are behind this particular these songs. I mean, it's amazing, and they're waiting in the waiting room. But what their story is, it starts a long time ago when they were both speaking an alien language up until the age of 4. We also have visitations with Jesus. We also have leprechaun that one of them met in Ireland while she was in a certain county in Ireland. And you'll get the whole story in a moment, but she basically was going after a piece of jewelry that was rolling down the road, and who does she see but a leprechaun standing right there in front of her. Of course, nobody else could see the leprechaun, but it's a question of belief, right? This is all about belief. If anyone's seen the movie with Tom Hanks, the Express, I think it was called the Polar Bear Express. Of course, you have the little guy in that movie who's ringing his bell, and if you don't believe, you don't hear it. Of course, he hears it, right? So it's all about that. I mean, you're going to get a whole bunch of information about faeries and gnomes and all kinds of things, Vikings. Very interesting twins, Cathy and Colleen Carlson, the CC twins, they like to refer to themselves as. So you'll be meeting them in a few moments when we come back.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Is this Peter the Healer?
Yes. No, actually, I'm the audio engineer for the show, Peter the Healer, your celestial broadcaster.
Where is Peter the Healer?
That's a good question. I really don't know. I've been trying for the last 10 minutes trying to reach him, but he's not answering.
Have you tried tuning into 528 hertz, the love frequency?
No, that's a good idea. I'll give it a try. Let's see what happens. Hey, you know what? I think I'm getting some
Radio Noise.
Rádio Noise 593.
Anybody out there?
DJ e produtor brasileiro, Rod Novaes.
Hello, everyone. This is Peter Desmond Kelly, host of Peter the Healer, your celestial broadcaster, the place for great interviews where I ask the questions nobody else does. And today's guests are quite extraordinary and multi-talented. They both have incredible careers and stories to tell. They're involved in songwriting and singing and recording, TV production, music production, promoting other singers, songwriters, and they've written 2 books as well. A 3rd one is on its way. So let me just read the little bio I have here. The CC twins, Cathy and Colleen Carlson, aka book authors, Cassandra and Selena Cloverleaf, have led unusual lives as identical twin sisters, as empaths and light workers with psychic abilities, as they spoke an alien language until age 4. They continue to have daily paranormal experiences and share their paranormal psychic photographs through the books Beyond the Veil of Sedona and Beyond the Cloak of California. They embrace all forms of life, even entities they encounter and photograph, such as angel demons, ghosts, nature spirits, and ETs. Their 2nd book, Beyond the Cloak of California, features photographs of deceased father, tree dryads, shapeshifters, ghosts, spirits, orbs, portals, and the unexplained. The CC twins are working on their 3rd book, which include demon ghosts in a Victorian gown, a shadow person with black derby similar to the Grim Reaper. Recently, Cathy took a photograph of an ET while sitting in the creek, just to mention a few of the thousands of photos they've taken in the Gila wilderness in New Mexico. Now that the gateways and portals are opening, there are more varieties of entities coming in which humanity needs to be aware of. The CC twins have been featured on many talk shows, and their paperback and ebooks are available at www.snspirits.com. So I'm now going to turn over to Cathy, CC Carlson, and Colleen. Welcome to the show. There we go. Now we're talking. Great. Wonderful. Welcome. Yeah, I hope I did justice to your biography.
I'm certain you will, Peter. I'm certain you will. So, yeah, you're catching us in New Mexico, and thank you for your patience in connecting us with your.
Well, yes. Well, you know, I'm certainly experienced at this because when I started off at the revived version of Peter the Healer, your celestial broadcaster, I had all kinds of trouble connecting, especially when I tried to do it live on Facebook. It was an absolute disaster. So I'm certainly familiar with all the difficulties that occur when you're trying to connect on the internet, but that's why I'm now doing it pre-recorded because of all the different things that could happen. So tell us then a little bit about your background, your beginning of life. I mean, I read there that you were speaking an alien language. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about that, what that was like?
Yes, up until the age of 4, Peter, we spoke a language that our parents didn't understand, or none of our relatives, as a matter of fact, understood. And it sounded a little gibberish, but it was actually, we understood each other. That was the crazy thing about it. And we actually felt very natural. So they might have thought it, was a foreign language, but to us, it felt very, we would just look at each other and communicate and laugh because no one could understand us. Actually, we liked it better that way, I think.
Well, yes, you could communicate in a language that nobody else understood. So
exactly,
that's a lot of fun.
Right? Yeah, that was up to age 4.
Okay, and just so the folks out there will know how to distinguish between the two of you, which one of you is Cathy and which one is Colleen?
Okay, I'm on the right. This is Cathy. I probably should have put it in as CC twins, Colleen and Kathleen, but I'm Cathy.
Okay, and that obviously means that Colleen is sitting next to you. Okay, in the
Colleen
pink.
Carlson.
Great. So
Yes.
you've been, when you were younger, I suppose it was more evident than it is now. Did you play games? Like, in other words, try to go to class for the other person? Do
Right.
these kinds of tricks?
Yeah, we used to, April Fool's Day was our favorite time to play.
Okay.
Actually.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
then
yeah.
people started catching on. The teachers started catching on. And actually, we were raised Catholics. Later on, we experimented. We went to all the various religions.
Okay.
But our catechism teacher on the weekend, on Saturday, she was a nun. We couldn't figure out how she could tell that we had switched. But she said she had a feeling we were going to, and we did it on April 1st, and we'd never done it in our catechism class before. And we said, how did you know? And she said, because I paid attention to the watches you wore, because I wore a Cinderella watch and my sister wore a Snow White watch. Hers was blue and mine was pink. And so that's how she could tell, because we were wearing our same watches. Very clever indeed.
I got you. That's very clever. And what other things were you guys doing that you thought, well, maybe it was normal for the two of you, but at some point you started to realize that, hey, not everyone has these particular quirky talents or gifts that we have? When did you start to realize that there was something unusual about?
Well, from the start, actually, because
Okay.
we actually feel like we communicated even before we were born, to tell you the truth. I can remember like just being in space, like in just light space, and saying I had to meet Colleen for some reason. And then we met at a location, and I believe we even discussed what we were going to do in this life. And I believe that even the relatives, our relatives, they were all in agreement. And we all said that this is, our life. And we made jokes about it and how it was going to be difficult, but that we were all in on the party, basically.
Well, I remember having a one-on-one with Cathy, and I said I really didn't want to be born again. I didn't want to be back to the planet, because I knew how many challenges the planet faces for everyone, and humanity and nature spirits and everything. So Cathy said, well, don't worry. She talked me into it. I'll be there with you all along the way. So I'll help you out.
What happened, Peter, is we were preemies. So my mom didn't even know she was gonna have twins. And so when I popped out, I was the first one. And then they said, oh, there's another baby coming along. So they didn't really have all the equipment they had. And since we were only a little over 2 pounds each, we had to be in incubators for 2 months. And my mom said we were as small as Barbie dolls. And what we would do is we'd be moving all the time. We were like little dancers, like little ballerinas, always moving our feet all the time and hands. So that probably kept us alive as well. But I remember even when I was born, and then I had to convince my sister to be born because she was changing her mind. And she ended up being a blue baby. And we were both given last rites, actually, but she was even in more dire straits from that. But yeah, we grew pretty well after we got out of the incubators, a little chubby little Buddha babies. So we did all right with that.
So you had an NDE before it even became popular.
Yes, yes. I was 11 at the time. I had a really high temperature, and there was this really nice nurse, and I got to know her. Her name was Mrs. Telford, and she was waiting on me night and day, and I couldn't leave. She brought me to the sink to cool me down, and I felt like I was on the edge. And I looked up, and it was Jesus. And Jesus was looked down at me. He was beautiful, and he said, "You can't leave now. You've got to help a lot of people." So I always carried that in my heart, and I've always tried to do that throughout my life. And I felt that is part of my, I try to share this. I do a lot of collaborations with people, try to, we all help each other and try to, you know, do this goal, complete this goal of helping people.
Wonderful. And so how have the two of you gotten along?
Well, we've had our ups and downs because we might be identical, but we don't have the same personalities. We're different. And so it has been a struggle all our life, I have to admit, but we do love each other dearly, and we feel like we need each other on this journey. Just as the promise that we made to each other, we always go back to that again, and to help support one another.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
Well, from what I've read and your different books that you've written, ebooks and what have you, songs and your biography, you've had quite a journey so far. It seems that you've been to many places. I think you were in Cape Cod at one point. You were in Sedona, Arizona, Mount Shasta, California, even Ireland. Perhaps you can tell the folks out there exactly how that's transpired. And don't worry about me. I just have to leave for a second, but continue.
Oh,
talking.
okay.
Okay. I'll be
Wonderful.
back.
Well, we grew up in Enfield, Connecticut. We spent a lot of time on our grandparents' farm. We lived close to a tobacco fields, and we even worked on the tobacco fields. Everyone in town did. And we didn't really even leave Connecticut until we were in our 30s. And then we moved to Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and we were there for 5 years. It was a wonderful, wonderful place. And, you know, but people kept telling us, "You don't seem like a New Englander. You seem like a Californian." And they were telling us that your personality and everything, your looks, you need to go to California. Well, what happened was one of our brothers, Craig, who was in the film business, who was working on film projects, invited me first, Cathy, to move to California. And so I moved and stayed with him a short while in Silver Lake. And that's when I started the songwriting. And then my sister followed right after that. And then my daughter followed after that. So everyone seemed to kind of gravitate towards California. Mm-hmm. So, but that's how it happened. And then we stayed in California until 9/11. And then where we worked in LA was threatened by bomb scares and everything. We decided we don't need the city anymore. This is kind of like too much right now. And so we decided we would move to Sedona, Arizona. Do you want to tell your story, Colleen, about when you first saw Sedona back in the 70s and all of that?
Well, yeah, Sedona was a real quaint town. There were just a couple restaurants, a couple log cabins, and a few artisans along the main drag. And so it was entirely different. And that was back in 1978. And I was in the Air Force at the time, and I had gone there to a log cabin with my boyfriend along Oak Creek. But the difference when we did go back was just amazing. The growth and
yeah, a lot more
the
tourists.
tourism.
Yeah, there were a lot more tourists. What ended up happening is we actually took an RV. We went to Washington State temporarily, and we saw that that was not for us. The day that we left in September after 9/11 was cloudy. I mean, it was sunny when we got to Washington State. And the rest of the time was cloudy, and it was crazy. And we were told a lot of people were on Prozac because they didn't get enough sunlight. And then they said, "Oh, we don't have gangs, we don't have earthquakes, we don't have what was the other thing they didn't have? Smog." And they obviously didn't tell us the truth because we got there and they had all three. And we were working for Wells Fargo doing mortgages temporarily when we first moved there by the in an old building. All the buildings were brick. And that was kind of scary because when the earthquake hit, I mean, we were in California, all the buildings were earthquake-proof. They were not over there. We almost got ran over by this heavyset lady who says, next time this happens, you better move out of the way because we're going to run right over you. And there was a train near the railroad tracks, and we thought that this was a train, but it was an earthquake. And they didn't know if it hit again, if the buildings would last. And then after that, after about 3 or 4 months, we took an RV. It was crazy. Colleen drove.
In Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
We bought it the first night. After we got all the paperwork, they left us. We got stranded in the parking lot.
The parking lot of the RV shop that we bought the RV
And it was
in.
snowing. It started snowing.
Yeah, and our windows were frozen, but yeah,
somehow we made it to Sedona. Believe me, without brakes, pedals were falling off. All kinds of things.
Had carbon monoxide poisoning on the way. My nail beds were turning blue.
Yeah, we called our RV our Lost in Space vehicle because it was all fiberglass, and it was like a modern in the late 1970s, but not modern in the 1990s. So we made it. So,
and that was our adventure.
And I just had to bring my cat in. Sasha, she might make an appearance. I had to let her in. She was meowing in the background. But yeah, and she is, of course, very intuitive. She has the same kind of incredible intuitions and insights, and communicate. My wife and I would communicate with her all the time. It's amazing how close. So you've traveled a lot. I'm going to just take a break, and when we return, perhaps we can talk about how you got the inspiration to write your 2 books. Okay?
Okay. All right, Peter. We're on board with you.
All right. Hello, everyone. We're back. This is Peter the Healer, your celestial broadcaster, the place for great interviews where I ask the questions nobody else does. And we've been speaking with Cathy and Colleen Carlson, very intriguing twins who have been talking about their various journeys, I think, not only physically on the globe, but metaphysically. And let's welcome them back.
Hi.
Hello, we're back.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, so yeah, as I was saying, I mean, you've had both a physical and a metaphysical journey, the likes of which I think nobody else has ever experienced, or maybe some have. Have you met anyone else that has your particular characteristics?
Well, we were born identical twins on February 11th. Had great uncles that were identical twins born on February 11th on a Tuesday like us, and my son was born on February 11th. So there's something special about that birth date. We never did get to meet our great uncles because they passed on before we were born, but we feel connected to them on other levels as well.
Right. As a matter of fact, one of the twins, unfortunately, died of diphtheria. He died when he was young, like 5 years or so, and it was on his birthday, our birthday, February 11th. So that day just keeps coming up. So we just know that it's significant in some regard. 1-1.
If you're into numerology, that's quite significant. Let's turn to, I have a bunch of pictures that I've saved that I'm going to put up on the background right now. And then once I put them up, I'd like you to kind of describe, if you will, what's going on at that moment. There's one. The voice. The voice.
Oh, right.
Look at that. The voice.
Well,
so you were on The Voice?
No, we wish we were on The Voice.
Yes.
Okay.
We went to visit Blake Shelton, and he, this was kind of his set, but we got to go way close up to him, and he was just amazing. And he had Trace Atkins.
How close?
Well, we went to a special VIP thing. Where we got
Oh.
right up to the stage, and he played
Oh.
acoustically for us, and it was just wonderful.
In Las Cruces, New Mexico.
It's where a lot of the concerts are held close by to us. And then we, of course, we interviewed Ronnie Millsap not long ago, and that was totally amazing.
Wow. And
Yeah.
this is something that you have your own podcast that you're interviewing different celebrities and musicians.
Well, we just started, and we're trying to find the best way to do it. And we'll probably ask your advice, Peter, if you don't mind.
No problem.
Of all your trials and tribulations.
Oh yes, I've been through many of those, and just for a little bit of levity, when you were describing your birth, it really reminded me of how I was born. I was also the firstborn of twins.
Oh.
How do you like that, eh?
You never shared that.
No?
Oh my goodness. Well,
I always
you'll share.
I like to have surprises, on the show. And I'll tell you, this was amazing when you were talking about, well, we weren't premature, but I know one thing, that I was born first, and it took a full 13 minutes before it was I have a sister, so I'm a fraternal twin. She was then born. They didn't even know that there was a second one. They thought it was a growth, which of course is the subject of a lot of jokes that I've given to her. But there you go. So I'm also a twin. Yeah, just for fun. So there's
we're 7 minutes. Yeah, we're 7
7 minutes. Okay.
Kathy
Cool.
is 7 minutes elder to me.
So I'm going to pop up another picture. Let us see. Okay, there we go.
Well, that's the same concert. That's the Blake Shelton concert.
In Las Cruces.
Okay,
And Cruces.
the same one. And it looks like you're pushing, I don't know if you see it on the screen, but American-made vodka.
Well, that's their advertising, and it works every time, right?
Okay.
Advertising.
Great. Yeah, so that's where all the celebrities line up to be photographed, I suppose. So there you are,
Yes.
your
Thank you.
twins, the CC twins. And let's go and see if we can find another photograph. Oh,
That's you. You're the
All right.
celebrity celestial broadcaster.
that's me. Yeah, I just made a mistake. I stopped the video and that went on. So we're back again.
It's your moment.
This one, you look like real Vikings. I'm telling you, this is really
Oh, yeah.
something.
Well, that's at my house. We have a couple fairy gardens that I'm taking care of and watering and nurturing. And Cathy and I went to the Mimbres River, and we had a harmonic convergence ceremony, and that was the next day. It was an awesome experience. We lit candles and had our sacred items with us. And then the sky was just so magnificent. It was on fire, and there were cloud people everywhere, and animals, and just wonderful things to see.
And when you say harmonic convergence, I've heard of it. I know a little bit about it. I wonder if you could explain what that means to.
Well, I went to the first one. Let's see.
1983.
Yeah, it was back in 11/11/1983. And that's a master number, of course, 11, and then 11/11. And it was a special Stargate opening for other planetary emissaries to assist the planet in their healing. So that was like the first major Stargate opening. And then this is an especially important time as well. Others to assist us at this time.
Right, because the three planets were aligned, Venus, Mars, and this particular time, that's when they decided to do different ceremonies to bring in, actually, the ET, the extraterrestrials energies to help.
Yes, and the Venus and women are from Venus, men from Mars. There is supposed to be an alignment of our energies, our yin and yang within us, the masculine and feminine that we each carry. and that we're able to empower that within us and get in touch with that, and then be more of a unified force, the new male, the new female.
Right. I mean, as a matter of fact, we're going to start maybe shamanism with our Finnish ancestry, because we found out that we have Karelian roots, and the Russians not only part of Finland, but they also call it fairyland. So now we're finding out more and more just why we're connected to the nature spirits and why they show up in photographs for us. And it's wonderful, because your heritage and your ancestors really do matter, and it does gravitate certain entities and spirits towards you.
And
Well,
another
you know
thing,
what, we're going to, sorry, we're going to show that.
Okay.
I'm just going to scroll through your 2 books, and we have lots of photographs
wonderful.
in that. So, but let's look at this photograph. I mean, the first thing that I was impressed by is that you two look like giants in this photograph. It's like you're 2
Really?
Vikings or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're rising above this. I think that, what is that? There a fairy? Is a fairy in the grass there, or what is it?
It's a metallic one.
Yeah.
It's a metallic one, but it's just to bring the energies there. Sometimes you
Sure.
need little
copper,
assistance.
yeah, little
Sure,
copper.
sure.
They like copper.
Okay.
They really conduct to copper.
So this would be part of a ceremony that you would be, like this.
Well, basically
Placing
to
the-
gravitate the
Okay.
fairies into the yard. And
We have different fairy portals, doorways, etc.,
Mhm.
where the nature spirits enter. And then even when I light a fire in our wood stove, my wood stove, the fire fairies are there. So we don't have to go far. We don't have to go to another continent. They're right there.
And you don't need to be on drugs.
No.
In fact, I would think that in order to keep the channel pure, drugs are the last thing that you want to do.
exactly.
Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then it's a danger to your aura, you
Yeah,
know. And
sure.
holes in
You know,
the
I
aura.
come from a background as a psychotherapist, psychologist, so I had a clinical practice for over 25 years. And of course, we are taught in university that people like you are cuckoo. Have you had that? Have you had these kinds of comments?
Well, even our husbands, we've been married before, didn't believe or understand. And that's one of the reasons why we had to split up, because they were totally against any belief system. And actually, one of my husbands said that we would divorce if I didn't give up the book. And I gave up a lot to keep that book, but I definitely feel it's worth it, because the message is so important to people. When they find out that fairies and nature spirits are real, it just really adds a whole different dimension to their life, and that thought of death and different.
Well, it's certainly been
We
that-
are empaths. We're empaths. We're not, there's different empaths, but we're sensitives. We pick up on many different levels. And the fairies have come to us.
Yes, seriously.
And they're asking for our help. So it's not like we've been.
Okay, so what are they asking you to do?
They're asking us one thing, to protect the planet, another
Okay.
thing to try to bring harmony here, to show most of the time when we photograph fairies, they're always together. There's more than one. And they're different types of entities. There's no racial divides. They're all different colors. I mean, they look totally different. I mean, we can describe them to you if you'd like. But.
There's shapeshifters.
Well, maybe we can do
and
that
everything.
when I show the pictures from your book.
Okay.
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 And just, I don't know if you told the story when I went to get my cat. Did you tell the people the story about going to Ireland and having a ring fall out of your bag? You just purchased something at a jewelry store, and then you see you're at the feet of some man, and it turns out to be a leprechaun. Have you told them the story about that?
No, but I'd love
Go ahead.
to tell you about it.
Go ahead.
This is Cathy, and I was invited on a music project called Music Bridge Celtic Harmony, and it was bringing American recording artists to Ireland to record songs with recording artists there with IMRO, Irish Music Rights Organization. And I was told when I got there that it was Hallows Eve, which is when the veil is dismissed. And I thought, well, that's great. You know, if I see something, that'll be wonderful. But I didn't really expect it. Well, what happened was, while I was there, I'd already been in about a half a week, and I'd had to walk from the castle, Abbey Glen Castle, to my hotel because the celebrities are staying in the castle, and I got to stay in a hotel, which was really lovely. But I would walk this dirt path, and I could feel the energy. But what happened is during the day, I had purchased Connemara rings, and they went out of my bag.
What are those? Connemara
Well,
rings?
Connemara is Connemara County. That's part of Ireland.
Where
in
is that
Clifden,
exactly in the?
yeah, it's on the west coast.
Okay.
And it's one of the closest areas to the United States to Boston. As a matter of fact, they had underwater cable that connected them at one time.
Okay.
And it was so interesting because when we lived on Cape Cod, we used to go to a beach that had a monument that said, this is where we connected with Ireland.
That's amazing.
We didn't know we'd ever connect with Ireland on the other end. But again,
probably
it happened.
So this Canary place, it was the place where they had the end of the cable, and the other one was to Cape Cod, and you were right there in the beach. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it was.
As they say, there's a reason for everything, right?
Well, anyway, I wanted to finish my leprechaun story, but the rings went rolling down the street, and when I looked up, it stopped at the feet of an actual real leprechaun, and he was wearing like a dusty kind of brownish green suit. Of course, full red beard, as red as could be, ruddy complexion. I mean, chubby. He was a chubby one, and he was a full-size leprechaun. And then he looked at me and he says, do you know where you are? And I said, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, an old man had asked me that question when I was looking in a window where they had shown all this Viking ships because they'd invaded there. And I'd felt really sad for the town because we are a Viking heritage, of course. And so I said, yeah, gladly, I'm in Connemara County, because the other one had said that's where I was, not Clifden. And so he said, yes, and he smiled and he laughed and he said, yes, you're in Connemara County, but you're also in Clifden, and I welcome you, and we all welcome you here. And then I looked up a second and he disappeared. And I've read about that. As soon as you look away from a leprechaun, they're known to disappear. So I don't know if I could have just kept staring at him, he would have stayed there. I don't know, but it's really interesting.
Incredible story. Yeah.
Yes.
My goodness. So you've taken these experiences, and then you, at some point, were living in Sedona, Arizona, correct?
That's correct, Peter. I actually purchased a house, and it was right on Oak Creek, and it was called Rivendell, and it was after the Lord of the Rings. And the woman said that I purchased it from, you can't purchase this house until I asked the fairies. And I'm like, are you serious? I mean, we were paying good money. You can imagine in Sedona, you know, in 2003 or 5 or whatever. And I said, okay, all right. And so she came back 3 days later and said, I asked the fairies, and they said yes. And not only that, you're going to have a good time. She said,
okay.
That was totally true.
And just before Cathy purchased the house, fairies with my own eyes. And so once she purchased the house, I said, well, Cathy, why don't we photograph them?
Yeah, and she said, let's write a book.
And let's write a book about him. And Beyond the Veil, to show people that what exists beyond ordinary vision, that just because we don't see them all the time doesn't mean that they're not there.
They don't exist. Mm-hmm. And then I actually got a fairy phone. Everybody loves this from the book. We were just starting writing our book, and Colleen was wearing a fairy shirt. Like I say, they gravitate to all this, so all these aids really help. And all of a sudden the phone rang and it went da-ling, 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 da-ling. And I'm like, okay, I think we have a modern phone, but that kind of sounds like ancient. Colleen is at the phone. She's like, I don't know. So I picked up the phone and I heard all this laughing and giggling, and I thought it was a friend of ours playing a joke on us, because there was a friend of ours that was in a Law of Attraction group that we had started in Sedona. And so, but then I said, when I went to speak, they would be quiet. But then I thought, you know, if they're fairies, they're psychic. So I'll just think, if they're really fairies, they'll say, yes, I know your name is Cathy. Well, they blurted out, yes, we know your name is Cathy. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I thought it was going to be like the poltergeist and I was going to get pulled through the phone, because I just didn't know at that time. And so I hung up the phone. I got kind of weirded out, but now I would definitely have because they said they had something to tell me and I never heard what they had to tell me.
Well, I'm going to now put up on the screen Beyond the Veil of Sedona, and perhaps we can talk a little bit about that. That's the book that you wrote together.
That's correct.
And that was, when did you, okay, so you wrote this and it was basically based on your experiences in Sedona with the various faeries and what have you, right?
Right. Did you want to explain, Colleen? We photograph, we would ask the fairies and would show us through the photographs the journey.
Yes, in the beginning, what we do is we'd have a special lighting or like a tunnel or portal that they'd like shine a little highlight on, and then we'd take a photo of that and a couple of other areas that they kind of pointed out to. And then we go home and do a little forensic photography, and we zoom in and spot different nature spirits as a result.
Right. In the beginning, it wasn't that easy. It wasn't as obvious, but then as we got more familiar with them, then we could capture them even better.
Yeah, the pixies were pixelated, we must say.
In the beginning.
But we only used a $99 digital camera. So, you know, we're not professional photographers, but they did ask us to assist them, and that's what we're doing.
But some of them came out amazing, and the ones that came out amazing are the ones look, you know.
Well, there you are. I don't know if you can see it, but you're on the screen. You've got your wings. And
Yep.
in this verse, you're known as Cassandra and Selena Cloverleaf, and that's your pen name, right? As
yes.
twins.
And that's Red Rock Crossing
okay.
at Cathedral Rock.
Okay, quite a structure.
I've hiked that right to the tip, the Cathedral Rock area.
So
but
let's move on here. Of course, there's your the different content. Sedona mysteries revealed. What is a vortex? The ley line connection, portals. So really, if anyone's interested in knowing about all of these types of phenomenon, especially that are quite intense in Sedona, you seem to have a very good book for describing those things. Plus, you talk about fairies, earth fairies, flower fairies, tree fairies, all kinds of neat stuff, which is very
well, I was a vortex tour driver, and I used to give tours, and so I had some insight into some of the vortices, and I actually co-wrote Sedona Drive Tour CD, which you stick the CD in the car, and you can follow the routes, and then there was a DVD with the photographs of the vortex sites.
And here we have a photograph. Go to fairies and nature spirits everywhere. Is this one of your photographs?
Yes, Colleen took that, I believe, right?
It reminds me like the phoenix of a thunderbird, orb. It's a light orb. We did capture thousands of light orbs on our first photograph when we went with 12 ladies out in the pitch darkness outside of Sedona. They were round orbs. Sometimes they are, but that one in particular stood out to me since the phoenix has always been an interest of mine.
let's see what else we have. We have another picture, the Oak Creek in Sedona.
That
And I
was in
think-
Kathy's backyard.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was,
what a backyard. Wow.
yes, it
Uh-huh.
was.
Amazing. And I believe you're going to show from here a blow up of the photograph where you actually show somewhere, oh, there's you,
That's
younger.
when we were
Yeah.
about 4 or 5, yes.
We're going to go
I've
back
been
somewhere
speaking
in
our
your
alien
book.
language
We
then.
have, okay, you were
Mhm.
speaking in your alien language. Somewhere in, okay, there you
Uh-huh.
are, the two
Uh,
Vikings,
Oh, yes.
Viking
Yeah.
goddess.
We
Elena
were
and
at
Cassandra.
Epcot Center for this, and it was a lot
Oh.
of fun. We found these Viking hats, and
Oh.
we the whole day in the Viking hat, and we were pretending that we were conquering certain spots at the Epcot Center.
we
had a lot of
actually
fun.
got a following. These Japanese tourists
Yeah,
started
were following
following
us
us.
around with their cameras.
It was cute. They
Yeah.
wanted to pose with us and everything.
Fascinating. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to look for, I know there's a picture somewhere where you
Yeah.
are
Mhm.
making the picture, you blow it up. Is that in this book or in the other one? You blow up the picture and you're showing the actual fairies. Is that in
Yeah.
this book?
Now
Okay.
now this one is actually a tree portal. You can see light being an orb coming out of that tree trunk.
Okay,
Yes,
right here. Yeah.
Uh-huh, that's where the
Okay.
opening is, and that's the orb coming out.
Ah.
Right. Well, in our photos, sometimes we've circled some of the fairies only to show people how they can blend in, but you can see them, I believe. Most people can. Now, people that are colorblind or whatever, it's harder for them to see the fairies in the photos, but
Okay, so, okay, here we go. You've circled it. And
Ah,
so that's what
yeah.
I'm talking about. You blow this up into that,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yes.
That's what's been blown up. And you
Well,
see
that's a
figure
portal. Yes, that's
This is
a
a
portal.
figure.
well,
This
what
is
we
a-
do is we crop this. It was original, a full size, and we just crop.
So this
And,
is the man in the vortex, you're saying,
Yes.
right? And,
In
and
the
who-
portal, yeah,
Who
portal.
would this person be?
Well, we don't know. He's a stick kind of like looking figure, but if you look to the, we haven't even circled. There's a face. There's a great face there. We probably should have circled that one, but people do see that one. But yeah, he's kind of distorted energetically when they're coming through or in and out of the portal. Sometimes they do get a little fuzzy. So, but capture them even better with our cell phones actually, and they say that it's even best to photograph them instead of a digital camera even, and they come out a lot more vivid.
Okay, so what can you tell us about this?
Well, you can see some orbs on the left there, but that's not our most magnificent shot because we have one that has thousands of orbs. I mean, yeah.
So these are orbs. All
Yeah, I
these white-
lived right across from Red Rock Crossing at the time. So I used to just do an evening walk. So that was just something I photographed, the different shapes. The left
Okay.
photograph being a rounder shape and the right being not as round. Oh, that's a little, that's my altar. And look what happened. Dimensionally, shift happening.
Yeah, she photographed
They
it.
were playing tricks, so that altar was charged.
Yeah,
with
Colleen,
fairy energy.
Colleen told me they would.
They
on that.
would. Mhm.
No. They would
Okay,
move.
so what you're saying is that this formation of colors formed without your interference. It just happened.
Correct.
One of the frames.
It's like a
of-
dimensional shift right there.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
A rainbow-like
Interesting.
design.
You talk about a creation story as well. You talk a lot about the North American Indian and their various tribes and their
Right.
interconnection with spirit
Well,
and these various legends that have come. Very interesting.
Yes,
Yeah,
this was
is
the
quite
most-
simple.
This was the most difficult photograph I had taken. I was in Kathy's office and I saw a woodpecker and something said, take photo right now. So I grabbed my camera and it felt like it was 1,000 pounds. And I just pulled myself like I was underwater over to the screen on the porch, and I photographed it through the screen, but I couldn't lift it up higher than my chest, and I just snapped the picture. And there's a shapeshifter here. The left was the woodpecker, and the right looks like a man with a red beret. You can see the woodpecker changing into a man, and he doesn't look too happy about having his photograph taken.
Yes.
But this photograph was taken on Coast to Coast. Did you want to mention that?
Yeah. George Norrie, Coast to Coast, actually featured this in one of his photographs of the day. So we were very honored for that because it was our first book. So
it's quite fascinating. I mean, it almost looks like some kind of religious costume. He has like the red cap.
Well, we were
kind
told
of a white collar
yeah.
here, and maybe a purplish kind of a gown. He looks like a black man from, am I right, Africa?
Well, it could be, but then we were also told by a Native American, the red cap, there is such a thing as a red cap entity, and it's warlike. It's warlike. And, you know, I was never able to find the details about that, but we were told that by Native Americans. The red cap is a symbol of blood, and it's a symbol of war.
Ooh, so that explains why he.
And the Yavapai Apache creation story talks about the woodpecker in a sacred way.
Yeah, and the woodpecker and the maiden story with the Yavapai Apache really related to this photo. And what we found is after researching it, then we would find the connection to the Native American legends.
So what we do is we take the photograph first, and then we do our research later.
Later, to see if we could match it up with anything in the local area.
And what can you tell us about this photo?
That was Palaki.
Yeah,
Palaki.
Ruins.
Ruins. It was right around the ruins. We ended up capturing some fairies in a tree. So we just thought that the geography really makes a difference where nature spirits love to be. They love to be where there's reddish rocks, where there's oxidation and the elements that create red rocks. They love that energy.
Interesting.
Also formations and shapes. Now here's the fairies that were close by to those rocks. In the tree. And if you notice, not only are there fairies, but there's faces, elongated faces. Like I say, a lot of times there are various types of entities in one photo that you see.
In the tree branches, in the tree trunks. Yes.
Okay. And you talk about what is a fairy, and here, yeah, you can definitely make out the face here.
He had a little goatee. Yeah, he was in the creek. A little white fairy figure, a little teeny one underneath him. And that's what happens. And sometimes we even capture faces where there's more than one face and there's a face hiding behind another face. They just love to do that because they're also messing with you because you think, is that a face? No, that doesn't look like a face, but then you look and there's two next to each other. So you know they're kind of trying to have you
distract you.
Yeah, distract you somehow.
And they shapeshift into the leaves, and sometimes you just look for an eyeball and you start from there, and then before you know it, you see the other eye, a hat, sorry. I'm sorry, honey. A hat or whatever. It gets very interesting.
And sometimes
that is.
That
What's this?
Just know. We called him Blue Man in a Tub, ethereal being, because we didn't know what to call him. He looks like he's in a tin can or you know, or something, a tub, but he was very small. We kind of blew him up. So they're all different sizes. They can be so tiny, can be huge. You can find huge faces in the cliffs and specifically look like a face.
So I'm just catching this here. So you believe that fairies are aliens that landed from UFOs?
Oh, I don't know if that was from the top. I don't know. From the page previous.
Or, okay, you're saying here
some believe,
fair folk are ethereal beings and are of the lower angelic rank. here to watch, guide, and bless us, or that they are caught in the earth plane, or even that
they're aliens.
that
So that's a
landed from
third
UFOs. Okay.
third belief.
And,
They do sometimes hang out together. The ETs and the fairies do.
We've
So
actually
they're
photographed.
all connected, is what you're saying.
Yes,
I
they
think,
are, beyond the
I
veil,
think this
right,
is the picture you were
dimensionally.
saying
Yes,
earlier.
that
was
is,
an amazing photo of orbs.
That was our first photo that
Of
we,
orbs that
of
were
orbs.
significant.
Mhm.
Phenomenal. So this is a pretty common experience, right, in Sedona?
Well, it's not just Sedona, but yeah, in Sedona, there is extra energy because they have more than one vortex, and they have different energies. Some are male, some are female, some are neutral.
Some vortex sites are balanced and have both. But this was not in a tourist site. This was the blonde, long-haired blonde lady in the picture with the moccasins. It was her land. And it was outside of Rimrock, Arizona. So this wasn't even a vortex site.
Yeah,
Is
we
that
did
very far from Sedona, Rimrock?
Not really, really far, maybe 30 miles.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
In the vicinity. Okay,
in the
let's see what
vicinity
we have.
still.
There's another
Oh,
fairy.
I love her. She's like my favorite because she's like green. I love green fairies. I
Yeah.
gravitate towards them. I don't know why.
With the pointy ears and the
Yeah.
reddish brown hair, and traveling in a light ship. It looks kind of, it could even be a crystal. It looks
Yeah,
kind of
right below here.
crystallized.
Yeah.
Well, we've even
Interesting.
photographed fairies traveling in orbs, so they do travel. And we've in our new book, our third book, we're going to have them actually in little mini UFOs. There's little mini UFOs. It's the cutest thing you ever saw. I don't think anyone's ever.
So
captured
yeah,
that.
we're capturing them traveling around. That was above Cathy's head,
Yeah. Interesting.
golden fairy.
We call her almost the godmother, fairy godmother sometimes.
Yeah.
You know? Just you so and everything.
We're starting to feel like fairy godmothers ourselves.
And if you notice, there's a purplish light around her. That's how you can tell she's real too. But yeah, there's like a
Okay, around her, there's a
yeah.
special light. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes there's special light. But yeah, and the next photo, that's the Stonewood Angel, we call her. And we really, that was one that we just found by accident.
Again, after our forensic hours and hours of zooming in on a photograph.
But luckily, it's a lot easier now because about half the photographs have fairies. I mean, it's so much that we have to decide now what is the best.
And we don't need to zoom in anymore. They're right there, really apparent.
But yeah, there's like a little face on a dried up fairy
Right here.
flower. But it just shows that there's energetically, there's things in everything, even if it looks dried up.
Yeah.
There's still life.
It looks like a mask somewhat, like a mask, a flower bud that looks like a mask. And we did our research on fairies as we went along again. We really didn't have as much knowledge as we do now.
Yeah, but those are little, if you could see orange hooded little fairies.
Yeah, the one on the left kind of reminds me of a Jimmy Durante character. The one in the center
Yes,
looks
the
like
big
a
nose.
Mohegan.
Yes.
A Mohegan to the
Yes.
center is a Mohegan. So
Yeah, we have so much fun. We name them and everything. You need to be around us when we're doing this. It's really fun.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, what do we got here?
Well, that's he's blending in. He's a face, and he's a tree fairy.
which John Springer, another fairy investigator friend of ours in Florida, says they're called Kermigians.
Yeah,
Which means what?
we don't know.
That's just the name of the old
Okay.
folk tree guys that hang, and women. Oh, yeah, just they just kind of look like part of the tree trunk.
Yeah, they blend
They
in.
just blend right in. They're not really obvious.
Now he is kind of strange.
This is like an ET for sure. we first saw his eyes. He's kept in the leaves, and he's got a metallic aluminum face, and you can definitely see his eyes. He looks like he has a mask on with the
Made of twigs.
and leaves, but he obviously was hiding out, just kind of checking everybody out.
Yeah, and he was upside down. Sometimes our photographs are upside down. You got to turn the other way. It's so funny.
This is upside down?
It was originally.
Because I see two eyes and there's the mouth, yeah. And then you got this.
And that's how we found him. Well, actually, he could have been even been sideways, actually, where the bark is, or sideways sometimes.
It looks familiar. I'm trying to figure out where I've seen a similar kind of face before, you know, with these kinds of geometric shapes in front. It's a very interesting image. Okay, so are there any other pages that you'd like to look at before we go on to your other book?
Yeah, well, this is the water fairies, but I just want to show you. They're dancing, actually. The male is on the left and the female is on the right.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Sorry. And then there's two ancient ones, and they could be aliens. They were hiding right under a waterfall.
But they kind of have this Mayan, Mexican look to them, the squarish faces, the masks, etc.
Okay, we can go, we want to go to the water eagle? We have a water eagle water photo. That's another waterfall.
But keep going.
You keep going.
Okay.
We have a water eagle, that one. Oh, you just went over past it. No, you just went past it. Okay. Go somewhere, if you could, Peter. There.
Right there. That's a water eagle.
Right here.
If they're coming out of the water.
Okay, cool.
Can you see the blue wings?
And the beak and all that.
And the mouth.
We asked for things to show up, and then they do, which is pretty amazing in itself.
Okay, so anything else I should show?
I think this is good.
Or it kind
of
of
the
gives
gnome.
people-
That's a gnome.
people-
That's a gnome.
Okay,
We
gives
talked
people
about the gnome.
an idea of what they can expect in your books, which of course we're gonna tell them how they can get copies.
Okay,
so this
great.
is a gnome in the center of the photo with a white beard.
And he had like a cave, you can see above. It kind of looks like a rock, but it's kind of like a cave too that he came out of.
A cave portal.
Cool. Okay, so I'm just going to bring us back to our okay, here we are. And I'm going to bring up another book in a moment, the one that you made about California. And that one is quite interesting too, because you give quite a history of the Native American culture, and of course how they were decimated by the Europeans. Very sad stories, but they have their own legends and stories that I'm sure go back thousands of years. Maybe you can tell me a bit about that.
Okay, yeah, Beyond the Cloak of California. That's a little darker. You could tell by the title. And the reason why it is we were capturing ghosts and orbs at cemeteries and that type of thing. And we were capturing the Tree Dryads and Shapeshifters at a park close to the ocean. And that was pretty amazing too. And you know, it talks about Californian Native American legends having to do with those places that we photographed at.
And that's where we ended up moving to when we left Sedona to California.
Okay, and may I ask why you decided to move?
Well, our mom was ill.
Okay.
She had moved from Florida, and so she had a little bit of, she needed help. So we helped her as much as until she passed, and then we moved completely to New Mexico.
There, just 3 years ago.
Okay, okay, and she was living in California at the time.
Yes.
I gotcha. Great. So I'm gonna, in a moment, put that up on the screen for people to look to see it.
Well, one of the photos that are our favorite is our dad, because he had died of leukemia, and
Okay, that's where is that one? That's
okay, there it is
that's
in the
the
book.
second book.
Yeah, it's in the second book,
Okay.
and it takes place on the beach. And what happened was my grandson was born, and we said we wish that our dad was here, and he could he'd be here with the baby, Derek. He was just 3 months old, and then he transposed his face over my daughter's, who was sitting next to the baby in the stroller, and it looked like him. And as soon as I took it and I looked at it, I said, "Oh my gosh, that looks like Dad." And then I showed it to my daughter, who doesn't always believe in these things. And I said, "Who do you think this looks like?" And she said, "Grandpa Ed." And I'm like, "Yeah." So that was pretty amazing. Then we took a photo recent photo before he passed.
So I've got the cover of your book on the screen. Do you see it?
No,
It's a lot.
you have to move. You have to move it down somehow. The book. It's just the title right now.
That's the title. Okay, you see that.
Yeah, we just got to move it down.
I mean. Yeah, I understand that. I just wanted to make sure you could see it. Okay, so
it's almost all the way to the end of the book.
This is the photograph taken in the other book as well, right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so.
But we talk about. Right, go ahead. Sorry, Peter.
What people can expect here is that you're talking about, okay, a lot about California, why it's so unique. Mount Shasta, of course, is a famous in the Native American legends, but also carries, it goes back as far as the Lemurians. And some people believe that they actually have a colony hidden within the mountain itself. Let's just see if we can get, okay, what's this here?
Oh, that was like a little angel cloud. It's kind of hard to see because it's so small, but it looked like she kind of had wings, you know. So.
Well, yeah, I remember
but she's
seeing
small.
You had an angel cloud connected to Mount Shasta that some people believe
That's right.
is hiding the opening in the mountain for the UFOs.
Right.
Am I right? Okay.
And it looked like a wing, an angel wing. But yeah, we were told that there are unusual clouds, and that's where the UFOs hide. That's what we were told from people who live there.
Okay, here I see a coyote-shaped shifter, a mountain lion spirit, a tree dryad and mermaid, and the ghost of our father Ed, who passed in 1997.
That's correct.
That's in this picture, or that's coming?
No, in the next pictures.
Okay. All right. Here,
that was.
It has page numbers there that you can go to if you need to.
Okay. Yeah, that's small to see. We can just pass that one. It was nice, but it's just small. But.
Well, certainly a beautiful picture of the coast. This is Northern California, right?
San Pedro, where our dad's ghostly image was captured along the beach there.
Yeah, when you describe the various regions of California, which is
yeah, basically we're just talking about the terrain right now. The terrain still makes up energetically, and that's the kind of like a wing kind of cloud that was over Mount Shasta.
That's what you're saying, the angel wind flat cloud, sorry, that's perhaps covering the opening for the tunnel that accepts the UFOs.
We're just having fun there, traveling.
Yeah.
Towns.
Ghost
towns.
Talk
about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, different legends. So it really is a good overall, complete book. Not only does it give you, some information about the layout of the land, the lay of the land, the geography, the different sections. It also talks about legends, and it talks about metaphysical aspects that are contained in these different legends. and going back a long ways.
Right.
And that's something that, of course, the Native Americans had as part of their culture, these legends, which were...
Well, my sister actually has a Native American name. She's called Woman Eagle.
Okay.
So,
I did a vision quest with a chief of a tribe in Sedona when I was working as a vortex tour.
And for anyone who doesn't know what a vision quest is, it usually involves pretty challenging conditions. I mean, you have to go somewhere isolated in nature,
Yes.
alone, and you have to, of course, do a lot of ceremonial things in order to get in touch with your higher self.
And stay awake for 3 days and 3 nights. But the eagle spirit actually came to me. I didn't call upon the eagle spirit, so he and I became one, and that's how I have the name.
Well, that's fascinating, because when my mother-in-law passed in 2014, Sylvie, my wife, and I, we were very much connected to her and helping her to pass. And the eagle came to her outside her window, and I had just had a vision of that the night before. And I'm convinced that the eagle was very instrumental in helping her to pass over into the next dimension.
Well, in 1987, there was an eagle right across from my son's bedroom window, and his eyes connected with me back in 1987, and he said, "You need to go on your spiritual journey now." And I just read Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, and then I took up meditation practices, went and helped I was working at Yale Sterling Memorial Library at the time, learned how to meditate, and then went on to Mexico and Guatemala City to distribute food and clothing to the poor. That's my first with the eagle. When my dad died, I asked him just before he died, he'd come to me as a red hawk, and he does. And I've been gifted some items as a result, but it's not every red hawk I see. But right after his funeral, I was all alone at his gravesite, and a red-tailed hawk came down about 10 feet above me and found me, and that was my first sighting. My dad had shown me there's an afterlife.
Right, and we also had the Lakota experience with an eagle too at one time. But there's the Agua Caliente Native Americans there, and we did capture. They're harder to see because one's a Native American spirit. You can see his dark hair and everything, but you actually need the book. You need the book for this one because it's kind of a little far away.
Yeah,
he's right there, yeah.
Yeah, right
Native
there.
American.
It actually, I find that it's very clear.
Yeah.
There it was.
Yeah.
It's zoomed, blown up from this image.
That was a crop,
yeah,
not a zoom.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was with our inexpensive cameras.
It zooms it up when you crop it, so you have this larger image. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Blown up.
And look at that other one. He looks like a palm. Oh, yeah. He has one dark eye, if you notice. It's black.
Yeah.
I don't know what the other one looks like because he's kind of like got it hidden. But
okay. Wow. Look at this.
Those are cloaked beings, if you can see. But they're small cloaked beings. And there's people that encounter cloaked beings. Some have even been taken away at night by these cloaked beings. So, and we've actually photographed a shadow person after we got back from the Four Eagle restaurant in Las Cruces in October when we were at the concert for Ronnie Milsap.
The Double Eagle restaurant.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was called, okay, maybe it's called the Double Eagle. And then the people who work there actually even say that the shadow people do come into that one room where a murder took place. So
In the parlor.
in the parlor.
So they say you could take photographs at the in the haunted room.
Yeah, it
There were
really sounds
spirits
like
everywhere.
a
There had
setting
been a
for a
massacre.
great mystery
Mm-hmm.
drama movie.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Hmm. And so what do all of these figures that we're looking at here, what is their purpose?
Well, they exist, whether we see them or not. They're actually, I think, maintaining the planet. They're doing a job. When you see the fairies, like the flower fairies and such, I mean, you know, we've even photographed them in cemeteries even. So they're busy doing their job and oblivious to us humans, except if you connect, and then they're shy. But once you become friends, they're, you know.
And the veil is very thin right now with the new gate opening on the harmonic convergence and the different planetary alignments. So other people as well will be able to see them.
Yeah, it's
more
getting
clearly.
easier.
It's getting easier.
This is quite something. This
Right.
looks more like the types of images that I think we are used to seeing as far as aliens are concerned, or maybe little nymphs or you know, fairies.
Sometimes
There's a
just don't know.
similarity. I mean, even you know, your pic. I don't have it right here, but I'm going to put up a picture in a moment of the two of you. You have these characteristics that are very kind of, when I say androgynous, I'm not meaning it in a derogatory sense, but you've got a kind of amalgamation of features of being Nordic, of having a kind of like a fairy-like image or face, and that's very fascinating.
Well,
And even
thank you.
and then you also look at these images, and you look at the various pictures we've seen of you know, ETs, extraterrestrial. So I'm seeing that there's something quite uncanny
Right.
about the
Like
way
even,
you two look.
well, even our eyes are green. That's only like, true green is only like 2% of the population or 5% of the population. And they're the only eyes that actually change color. And there's other things about us that are unusual. We have O negative blood type where we can give to everyone, but not every, we can give to everyone, but we have to only accept that. There's a lot of unusual things about us, believe it.
But one of our Vikings
Yes.
were related to Carl Gustav Mannerheim, the first prime minister of Finland that fought the Russians on skis and was outnumbered 20-1. And he was a Bohemian general. And
Yes.
once his prime ministership was over, he had a one-room apartment and he gave his money to women and welfare causes.
So yeah, we come from that lineage, and that's, I think,
So-
where we get some of our humanitarian.
So I have on the backdrop a picture of you guys, and like I was saying, you know, you have this interesting. When my wife saw it, she definitely right away got the Nordic type of you know, connection. The Nordic, and then we talk about elves, we talk about fairies, and then you talk. So you both got this incredible imagery in your books, and I look at you and I say, hey, you could be in one of your books as one of the fairies.
Well, we appreciate that. That's one of the best compliments you could give
Thank
us,
you.
actually.
Fairy blessings.
Thank you.
Well, you know, because you know, as I said, I was a psychotherapist, psychologist before, but I've since been retired for about 5 years now, and but I've always had an interest in the spiritual side of things, and I'm definitely convinced that much of the work that I did in helping people to heal from whatever traumas or situations that they were facing in life, there was a spiritual component. I mean, the in-between place between me and the client, and then there's the in-between space, and that's when the real healing takes place. We meet halfway. And that's the dimension that is the spiritual dimension.
We do have a photograph here of a monk, and he's meditating. A fairy is coming right from, there's a couple fairies there coming out.
Let me see if we can show
I don't
you.
know if we can show you or not. Can you see that?
Yes. Oh, okay. Do it again.
Yeah.
I'll
There's
not-
him. There's the monk. And if you go down, you'll see there's actually a fairy right there in his photo.
A little higher, honey.
A little higher.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I can see
And-
that's like, which is, when did that photograph?
Well,
take place?
that's what we wanted to talk about. I mean, we go into thrift stores and places like that, and we have this uncanny ability to zone in on those types of things that are just waiting for us. We found that in a thrift store in Silver City, and I couldn't believe it. And it didn't just have that, it had other Buddhist type postcards that someone had treasured, probably went there in person. And so it was just amazing. It just validated again that we're doing the right job, because we do need encouragement. We know they exist, but it isn't always an easy journey, because some people believe you, some people don't. That's why we had our pseudonym names. I'm Cassandra, Colleen, Selena, Cloverleaf, because we wanted to keep the same vibration of our names by keeping the CC, but we wanted it to be different. And now we've totally come out, I guess you could say, about fairies. And we are actually using our real names for the first time. It feels really good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's you can understand it. People that are coming out of the closet, how they must feel. It's like you're really, you know.
Well, we did
The
too.
veil is
validating
being
yourself.
lifted on us in our anonymity right now, you know.
So you come out of the cloak,
Yes, and the veil.
from behind the cloak and the veil, and that
Yes,
certainly
exactly.
has been symbolic. You're now out in the open, and I'm happy to have had the privilege to interview you two fascinating twins, Cathy and Colleen. Amazing story. I'm sure we could go on and on the different things that you guys have done over the years, but let's look into the future. What are your projects?
Well,
in the future?
I don't know if we have time for a song this time around, but I've co-written some songs, and my sister and I actually are a twin team, and we've actually released some music. We released a song called Never Say Never, and it was one that we used to sing out live, but we have other various songs. We Are One Nation, which we actually wrote for the Navajo Nation, was be sung by a Japanese choir at the Navajo Conference powwow in Flagstaff. But unfortunately, the music director said they could not say the word God properly in the song. We didn't get that opportunity, but we've sang it, and it's been on the Sedona Now channel, played 24 hours a day for a month with Jeannie Carroll, who is a music teacher there, and the students sang it. So there's somehow or other, we're always getting involved in these types of projects for awareness sake, to bring people to awareness.
So I
join
mean,
people
you
together.
have those two songs. How were you?
Well,
going
we
to
have
play
those
it?
released. Yeah, we have those released, so people can
Okay.
get either Never Say Never or We Are One Nation, or we have
Okay.
various ones under CC, the CC Twins that we're releasing now. And then I also have two songs that are going to be on the moon with Big Fish Music Group, and by SpaceX. It should be happening in 2020. And
Well,
Buried
that
with
was the two songs that I
Lander.
played at the beginning of the broadcast.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I played it, and by the Black River Girls, I think it's
the
called.
Black River Girls. Yes.
Yeah.
And
So those
and
two songs.
Even the Angels knew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the Angels knew. Zell Black was on that.
Yeah.
And she actually was going to be a duet with Michael McDonald at one time. And her husband, Gary Black, he passed away. He was in a studio. I was one of the last people to talk to him about 6 months ago. So like I told Ken in a Big Fish Music Group, he's going to have the best seat in the house when our son.
Well, there you go. They're going to be constantly from the moon. And if anyone is interested, how can they find out more about you? You have an email, not email, but
Yes.
a website.
Mhm.
I'm going to put
For
it
our-
at the end of the
Right.
broadcast as well and below, but tell me what it is.
We
for
do
folks.
have a store in Silver City.
Okay.
It's right in historic downtown home of Billy the Kid, and it's called Silver Nature Spirits Gift Shop. And if they go to www.s like Sam, N, and then spirits, spirits.com, SNN.com, they can visit our website, and we sell our ebook there. And also, if they go to Music to My Ears Pub, PUB.com, it's not where you drink beer, it's our company. They can inquire about the songs, and I'd be glad to tell them. But also, Chuck Tenen of Big Fish Music Group is on Facebook, and he does have a website where people can listen to Even the Angels Knew and Girls Will Be Girls as well.
And we're also on Facebook. I'm under Colleen Carlson. And how about you?
I'm under a lot of profiles.
Yeah, say a couple.
Kathleen Carlson, Kathy C.C. Carlson is what I mainly go by.
And Cassandra.
Cassandra Cloverleaf.
Well, super, Kathy and
Yeah.
Colleen Carlson. It's been a pleasure interviewing you. And I think that we've made an important connection that will continue into the
Yes.
future. And the right vibes, the right frequency, even though I'm calling you from my spaceship. I didn't tell you that, but I have a spaceship in one of my videos, and it shows, I just put it, it shows a picture of the spacecraft that I
Wow.
use to do the broadcasts. And I go in there and I go up above Laval and Montreal, which is just to our south. And that's where I do my broadcasts. So
I've been to Montreal. It's a beautiful place.
yes.
And I honeymooned at Quebec City.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
so-
old town. The old town.
Sure.
Well, very good, Peter. Maybe we can do the same, and we can have you on one of our shows as well.
I'd love to. Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Can't wait.
And so I wish you all the many blessings and love that is possible in the highest frequency of our lovely Earth globe that is in a healing stage right now, but it will be, I know,
Aho.
in a
And
much
namaste.
better place.
Mm.
Because of
Love,
people
peace, and harmony.
like you.
Thank you.
Okay then, so take
Okay.
care
God
now.
bless.
And
Thank
we'll
you.
say
Very
goodbye now.
blessing. Bye-bye.
And,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Think about it. Okay, bye-bye. Think about it.
This is Peter Desmond Kelly, host of Peter the Healer, your celestial broadcaster, the place for great interviews where I ask the questions nobody else does. So we've just had the pleasure of having two wonderful ladies from New Mexico, and
Yeah.
we're having a hard time saying goodbye, but we're going to say
No.
goodbye now because we're going to be reconnecting not far in the future. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.